Everybody, I'd like to call the town council meeting to order on March 17th, and I'll ask Deputy Mayor Forrest to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Sue, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Lesser,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Forrest,
Here.
Councilor Bailey,
Here.
Councilor Carbone,
Here.
Councilor Clancy,
Here.
Councilor Durick, Councilor Rhodes,
Councilor Dirk's here. Just
Councilor Timbrow, Councilor Zambrello. Thank you.
you, Sue. Let me start by wishing everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. I see many of you in green. I am in green, and I will try this blessing, which I may forget, but may your troubles be less and your blessings be more, and nothing but happiness come in your door.
Nice.
So that's our St. Patrick's Day Irish blessing. May all the luck of the Irish be with you. So tonight, we are very excited to start our meeting. Tonight's a big meeting for us. We're going to have our education budget presentation. But before that, we are going to recognize our state champion cheerleaders that are here. And our athletic director is here, and our superintendent and members of our board. Mike, I don't know if you want to go first. I know we're going to have some student speakers. I hear there may even be a cheer. I know they're outside, so I don't know at what order, but we would love them to come in and join us. And if they're doing a cheer, they can do that. And Mike, we want to bring them in because they are right up on the agenda. So Mike, you can come up, and then I think they're coming in now.
They have their gold medals.
So welcome to the state champion Wethersfield.
Proud to be an eagle. Clap your hands. Get loud. Show you're proud to be an eagle. Clap your hands. Get loud. Show you're proud to be an eagle. Clap your hands. Get loud. Show you're proud to be an eagle. Clap your hands.
Those are our state champions. Can you teach that to the council? Yeah. So we're so proud of you, and we're so grateful that you're here tonight and you could be with us. I would like the athletic director to say a few words. Coach, if you'd like to say a few words, and I understand a couple of our captains or three co-captains are going to speak. So the floor is yours, Mr. Athletic Director.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Lesser, and members of the Town Council. Thank you for having me here, along with my coaches and the WHS cheerleading team. And I just have a statement I'd like to read in honor of our great athletes here. It is with immense pride and admiration that we recognize the outstanding achievements of our high school cheerleading team. This season was truly one for the history books as they soared to new heights and demonstrated excellence at every level of competition. Our team was crowned CCC Co-Ed Division Conference Champions, a remarkable accomplishment that reflects their skill, dedication, and teamwork. Beyond that, they earned second best overall score in a 30-team conference, proving their dominance in a highly competitive field. We are especially proud of 5 members who are named to the All Central Connecticut Conference team: Haley Gott, Melena Miranda, Zachary Mordico, Kylie Tardet, and a special shout out to junior Megan Doyle, who achieved the highest overall score for all cheerleaders in our conference. Truly an incredible feat. The success did not stop there. Under exceptional leadership of our head coach, Allie Cormier, and assistants Stephanie Valenti and Chastity Etienne, the team continued to shine on the biggest stage. They were crowned CIAC Co-Ed Cheerleading State Champions, an honor that secured them a place at the prestigious Connecticut Team of the Year Championships, a distinction Wethersfield had only earned 2 other times in school history. Next, we had all-state accolades to Sophia Clementon, in addition to Megan, Melena, Zach, and Kylie. Their journey isn't over yet, And this weekend, for the first time ever, our school will compete at the regional championships in Worcester, Massachusetts, marking another milestone in this team's incredible season. It is impossible to fully capture how proud we are of these fine student athletes. Their dedication dates back to last May, putting in countless hours of training, refining their skills, and pushing themselves to new limits. Cheerleading is a unique sport. Our team not only supports the football, soccer, field hockey, and basketball teams, but they also compete for themselves at the highest level. And unlike other sports with multiple opportunities to compete, possibly face some errors, cheer and dance, unique as they are, come down to a single 2.5-minute routine where every second truly counts. This team has exemplified grit, resilience, determination, and the ability to thrive under pressure. Their passion and commitment have not only earned them trophies and accolades, but have made our entire school and town proud. Congratulations once again to our cheerleading team. You have made this season one to remember. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Coaches, are you speaking or just the student athletes? Student athletes.
Wonderful.
Please introduce yourself as well. And
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Maddie Dakin and I am one of the 3 captains of the Wethersfield Varsity Wethersfield High School varsity cheerleading team. As you all heard, we recently won the co-ed division state championship title. This is something that we take with immense pride and are just so grateful for because Wethersfield High School cheer has never won a state championship before, and Wethersfield High School has not won a state championship in 3 years. I also want to thank our coach for just helping us and just leading us to this victory.
Hi, I'm Haley Gott. This win means so much to our team. It has shown that our relentless dedication and countless hours of practice have not only strengthened our skills, but also created an unbreakable bond among our team. Together, we've overcome challenges and pushed each other, leading us to this win.
Hi, I'm Gisela. Thank you. Hi, I'm Gisela, another captain on the team, and I really want you guys to take away what you guys just saw was one of our game day cheers that we do at, basketball, football games, but we really do so much more. We spend over 10 hours practicing to get us to where we are today. We do elite stunts. And we also push ourselves as much as we can in the classroom. So I also want to give a huge shout out to parents who allow us to put these hours in, and I'm so excited that we made it to this point.
well, you have made the whole town proud. State champions, very impressive. Congratulations. Good luck in Worcester. And if you would all come together, we'll take a photo. Parents, if you want, we'll take a photo. Coaches, athletic director, counselors. I don't know if we should come out or we'll just stand behind them. And then we'll proceed with our agenda after this.
I don't know.
Michael? You want to get in front? You're a little shorter.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah.
No, just, I want her to be in the picture.
You're not going to see me.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations, thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay,
I think I was.
a nice way to start our council meeting, and now we're going to be joined by our superintendent of schools to present the budget to us. So Michael, and I don't know if you're going to have any, Matt Lacavoli as well, from the vice chair of the Board of Ed.
I left my phone in the car.
It's going to be when he presents it, actually, May 1st.
hope you guys are going to start with a cheer.
I'm getting too old. I don't think I can do that, Ken. Is it on?
Yes.
All right, cool. We're good? All right, so Mayor, councilors, thank you for having us tonight and for allowing us to present this budget. So my name is Matt Lacavoli. For anyone that doesn't know me, I'm currently the vice chair on the Wethersfield Board of Education. This is my 4th year on the board, so this is my 4th budget cycle. I don't consider myself an expert on budgets yet, but I feel like I'm working towards that. We decided this year that we were going to switch up this presentation a little. Michael normally does not get introduced, but we felt like as a board that it might be a good idea if we start sort of personalizing or giving general overviews as to how this budget is crafted and how we got to where we are today with Michael's presentation. To do that, I'm going to make 3 major points, or 3 takeaways, if you will, concerning this budget. The first being that the budget process is a democratic process. There's 9 board members, but it is not the 9 of us sitting around a table with Michael talking about what the school district needs or wants. We're not sitting there throwing darts at line items on a board saying, yes, we will pick that. Yes, we need that. Throughout the year and throughout the years, we sit through countless presentations from departments. We get emails and we have interactions from parents, from teachers, from students. We hear from principals. So all of that gets put into a blender and it gets to where we are today with the budget, with the items that are in it today. It's a democratic process. There's a lot of input that goes into this number and into what the school district we feel wants and needs. The second point is that of this 4.95% increase in the budget that we are presenting today, about 3.7% of that is contractually obligated salary and benefit increases for our employees. Say what you will or think what you will about collective bargaining or having to deal with unions, but in the state of Connecticut, when you're hiring people in public schools, it's a way of life, and it's just the way it is. That 3.7%, we feel as a board constitutes a fair raise to our teachers and our employees. We want them to feel valued. They are valued employees and they deserve raises, but we also feel that it toes the line of making them happy while also being conscious of the taxpayer. In those negotiations, which I was a part of over the summer, and we negotiated 3 of them this summer, so that's the majority of that 3.7%. We negotiated in good faith. We came to an agreement. Both sides were happy, and we did not give out raises that were exorbitant. These raises were at or below our district reference group average, and they are at or below the state average in terms of raises that were being given out to bargaining units in public schools in Connecticut. So we did well there. We did not have to go to mediation. We did not have to go to arbitration. You do not want to go to arbitration when bargaining. It's always possible that you will have to give out a larger raise than you had anticipated. So we did well in that aspect. The third point that I just want to make is that a lot of the line items that we're asking for in terms of new spending, the problems that they are seeking to address were not born in Wethersfield. The new items in our budget that were not in last year that we're proposing this year are what I sort of consider societal factors. Kids nowadays in school systems everywhere, not just in Wethersfield, not just in Connecticut, but all across the country, they're in more and more need of social workers. Those are in this budget. Since COVID, math scores have slipped, not just in Wethersfield, across the state, across the country. We have a math interventionist in this budget. Connecticut state regulations now require that the Burr babies are now eligible for pre-K enrollment. So in the past, if a child was born in September, October, November, or December, they could not start pre-K. They can start now. So we have a newfound need for a pre-K expansion. That includes special education as well. Security. I don't even have to say anything. You all know that security is an issue in schools. That's in this budget. I may have forgot a line item or two, but Michael will get to that into the presentation. And with that, that's just my overview of how we got to where we are today. I hope I didn't take too long. Michael, you're up next.
Thank you, Matt. It's really a good lead-in as I stand before you this evening. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Town Council. This will serve as my final presentation of a Wethersfield Public Schools budget, as I'll be retiring in June. And I thought tonight that I would, again, work hard to try and tell the story, because that's what it's about. You saw that with the cheerleaders here. You might have heard about some of the recent musicals that have been going on. This past weekend, we sold out 3 shows at Silas Deane Middle School for Beauty and the Beast Jr. Hello Dolly at the high school. Jane, I know I saw you there on Friday night. We also, with our partnership with the Keene Foundation, have musicals and performances across all of our elementary schools. It's part of what we do, whether it's sports, whether it's the arts, whether it's academics. We try and provide everything we can for all of our students in Wethersfield. So tonight is really just an overview of the budget. As Matt laid out, there are some new initiatives. Some of these new initiatives are new. Some of these are familiar. You've seen them before. These are initiatives that did not get funded in prior years, or we had them through our ESSER dollars and they were cut. So our proposed 2025-2026 budget is slated to be $68,153,339. The amount of that increase is $3,215,536. It represents a 4.95% increase over the current operating budget. To put it in perspective, looking at CASBO, the Connecticut Association of School Business Officials, right now the average superintendent budget across the state of Connecticut is a 5.5% increase. The average Board of Ed approved budget across the state is 5.42. So in addition to that, we're coming in slightly over what the council approved budget was for last year. So just to walk you through the process, as Matt mentioned, this has been a democratic process. I appreciate and applaud each of you that were able to come out to our various workshops. We held a total of 3 of them. We started off on February 1st with a proposed budget increase of actually 5.47, and it included the following needs. It included 3 math interventionists, 5 elementary security, an EL supervisor, that's an administrative position, pre-K expansion, that's 1 preschool teacher with a special education certification and a speech and language pathologist, a social worker, a special education teacher, WHS ACAP stipends. ACAP is currently being run at Wethersfield High School, and it provides our students with an alternative high school experience for those students that we lose to dropout. These kids come in and they work from 3:45 until 5:15 every day. They're getting seat time with certified Wethersfield High School teachers. As I'm speaking to you this evening, we currently have 13 students that are getting support and getting services toward graduation. In addition to that, we're looking to add in a Silas Deane Middle School in-school suspension coordinator. Right now, with that gap, if I'm going to discipline a student for a significant discipline issue, they're going to get an out-of-school suspension. I'd prefer to keep kids in school, quite frankly. We have it at the high school, and it's been very effective. On February 8th, we met again over at the Stillman Building with all of our principals and department leaders. And then we followed up with our final budget workshop on February 22nd, and we revised the budget with the following amendments. We adjusted the math interventionist position from 3 to 1. We currently have 2 math interventionists. We had 7. So the 2 that we have 1 at the elementary level that's split. It is far from the best, to say the least. And then we have 1 that is specific to Silas Deane Middle School. We looked to adjust the elementary security positions from 5 to 3. Again, is that an optimal? No, because I'm going to have a couple of schools that are going to be without for at least a portion of the day. Let me talk a little bit more about the elementary security positions. I've had those in the budget requests historically, and they have not made it. Actually, after Newtown, I actually was a superintendent in July of 2012. Newtown happened in December 2012. So we did not have a director of security. I want to say it took approximately 3 years to get that position in. We had a grand total of 1 security guard at the high school and 1 at the middle school. So we've expanded now. I currently have 3 security guards in addition to the SRO at Wethersfield High School, and I have 1 security guard at the middle school in addition to the SRO at the middle school. At the elementary level, we have no SROs at this point in time. We have no security. So we have 1 security director that floats from building to building as the issues come up. The idea of these positions would be they are not carrying weapons. Carrying weapons brings in a whole new layer of training and a whole new layer of cost. These positions would be retired law enforcement officers that have experience with conflict resolution. And what would they do? They would be on site in our buildings all day, every day. They would be visible out at recess, where we have less structured environments. They would be present and visible at drop-off in the morning, as well as pickup time in the afternoon. They would be available for evening events, whether it be a PTO event or something happening on potentially a weekend. They would also be available to support us in dealing with non-custodial parent issues, any type of fire drill, any type of lockdown drill, or any type of emergency. They are an extra pair of hands, an extra pair of eyes. They are trained and they are focused. So that's the thinking there. And again, what we need to do is adjust the budgetary hours for our elementary recess aides as well, so that we have ample support outside when the kids are out. So our revised proposed budget increase comes in at that 4.95%, or $3,215,536. You've seen this slide before. It's not that different. The bulk of our budget goes toward salaries and benefits. Right now, I can tell you that the board's budget carries a 6% increase on health insurance. The latest that I've seen, the increase coming from Chris Monroe is less than that, so there's certainly some wiggle room there. As Matt Lacavoli talked about the contractual obligations, over the course of this past year, we negotiated a total of 3 contracts. We negotiated the nurses, we negotiated the teachers, and we negotiated paras, secretaries, as well as tutors. So we've added 28 tutors into the secretary-para union. So we have contracts done. We ended up going to arbitration on none of them. We settled in negotiations with nurses. We settled in negotiations with teachers, and we had 1 mediation session with secretaries, paras, and tutors. So we have our contracts locked up. The administrators have an additional year before the process happens again for them with regard to negotiations. And again, I would say with regard to our settlements were right around the average of what we're seeing across the state. Just want to show you some historical budget increases. As I said, we're already slightly lower than what the council-approved budget was last year. And again, I've seen budget increases that range from less than 1%, and those are in the single school elementary districts out in the eastern part of the state with 1 school of about 200 kids. And then I've seen double-digit increases in a couple of our big cities. Just to show you a district comparison, DIRG-D, that's the district reference group. So these are all districts that are similar in size and socioeconomic background to Wethersfield. And you can see where they're coming in. And I can tell you, I know with East Hampton Board of Education, happen to live there. East Hampton Board of Education just came in, I believe, at 6.9%. Others across the state in various reference groups, numbers are pretty consistent. I want to speak to this. This is the educational cost sharing dollars. So you can see where we are in blue, and you can see where the reference group is, the average is. I want to point out that the legislature, as I'm talking to you, the legislature is currently working on a bill with regard to ECS. And that bill, if it does pass, will certainly impact Wethersfield along with every town in the state. I have said this for every year I've been up here. Special education is the wild card. Special education costs continue to spiral for districts across the state. One of the things that the legislature is looking at is weighting the ECS funding with regard to the number of students receiving special services. It's looking at weighting ECS with regard to the poverty rate. It's looking at weighting ECS with regard to free and reduced lunch. So Wethersfield would have the potential to see increased ECS funding, but again, this is pending legislature. I do want to also mention, you've seen in the news recently with excess cost. Excess cost is separate from educational cost sharing. For us, the excess cost is a reimbursement on high-cost special education placements. There was legislation that came forward that talked about additional funding for districts across the state. That was line item vetoed by Governor Lamont. And the legislature came back with another deal. It was amenable to the governor, so at this point in time, we're looking for that to be passed. For Wethersfield, that would be approximately $430,000 of excess cost reimbursement for this current year, not for next year. So we're looking to see that. And again, for us, what that will do is that will offset the cost of our out-of-district placements. And again, you can see the ECS entitlements. This is subject to change based upon legislation. Again, just want to point out, we've seen over the course of the years, we're seeing it start to level off, but we've seen an increase in the number of high-need students being identified as free and reduced lunch, English language learners, or those students with an individualized education plan. So just talking about factors, so this is the kind of the breakdown. And the teacher salary is increasing 4.82%. One of the things you've probably seen in the news is the attrition rate of teachers. Teachers, administrators, I think this year in terms of superintendents, there's somewhere in the range of 20 to 22 positions across the state. So you're seeing that change over here. Obviously for us, we need to continue to bring in the best and the brightest. So there's an investment in that. Here are our benefits. Again, pension and OPEB contribution amounts are going to be adjusted. We don't have that figure yet. Contracted services. These are services for outside providers. We may contract with a psychiatrist. I don't have a psychiatrist on staff. We may need a psychiatric evaluation. We would contract out. We might contract out with an IT consultant related to assistive technology, something that we don't have in district that we're looking for that level of expertise. Also want to make mention of transportation budgets. We have a contract with Autumn Transportation. We're going to see an increase of approximately 3%. Again, some of that of course, is inflationary. Total tuition's increasing, $225,000, again, based on projected enrollment. Our prevalence rate for special education, when I came aboard in 2008 as your Director of Special Services, we were right around 10%. We are now north of 16%. So we've seen a pretty significant increase. Budget factor with supplies. Again, supplies are very focused on inflationary. The cost of paper, I might have mentioned it last year, we saw about a 30% increase in the cost of paper alone. And it's important to note that the total instructional supply budget, it accounts for 0.71% of the budget. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there to absorb a cut. In terms of property, again, one of the things the board wanted to do last year, we started a process of replacing old, outdated, and broken instruments. I'm seeing more students playing instruments now than I think I've ever seen before. So I've got to have the instruments. And I will tell you, we saw a huge, with COVID, the number of percussionists went through the roof. So we're definitely trying to broaden the interest a little bit. So just talking about now kind of the timeline, I went through our budget workshop timelines. I presented this budget to the Board of Education last week. The board passed it. We stand before you this evening. And then I do understand we have the townwide budget hearing on April 21st. And I know that I have on my calendar, I believe, Fred, it is May 1st, where we're coming back together to have more discussion with regard to the budget. And then by the 15th of May, the town council gives us the allocation. So with that, any questions you may have?
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for coming here for the last 13 years and all of your dedicated service and the way you've worked with us. Much, much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So I'm going to open this up to see if there are any counselors' questions, and remind you, and Michael just said it, he is coming back on May 1st. So you certainly can ask questions tonight. We will have another opportunity to ask questions as well in a little over a month. So I open it up. Any counselors, any questions of the superintendent? Counselor? Okay, Deputy Mayor Forrest.
Mr. Superintendent, it's good to see you. We've
Yes,
worked
sir.
for a lot of years, so I wish you the very best in your retirement.
Thank you.
And I'd like you to maybe just turn, there was a line graph that was relating to the, was it the ESL funding? Not this one, that one. And I'm curious, obviously it's obvious where the blue and our DIRG is the red, and there's a significant difference. What's the driver and why Wethersfield doesn't receive the same amount of funding as similarly situated schools?
Well, there are multiple factors here. You know, you're taking in the expenditures per pupil, you're taking in the excess cost grant, and again, it's, I think, the per pupil expenditure, it's the allocation that's provided to the board. That's another factor here. So you're seeing this drop, and you know, we've talked about this before. Back in 2010, we were ranked 10 out of 24 towns. So, and you see we've sagged. Now you can see over the past couple of years, you see a larger increase there, but the gap has grown. In addition to that, you've got some, you know, you look at some of the other DIRG towns and you're seeing, you know, some of these more affluent districts are spending anywhere to $22,000, $23,000 per student.
So this is a graph that explains how much we as a town of Wethersfield are expending per student, not
Correct.
the number, not the funding levels that the state is giving us.
Correct.
I understand that now. If we were to look at the funding levels that the state is giving us, because, and I think I didn't understand that because you mentioned they're working on it right now with the state capitol.
Yes.
So I thought it was state funding. Is there a graph that does show the state funding? Like, could we see what our DIRG average is and then what our average is for state funding?
Yes.
As it relates to that matter.
We can look at that, yes.
And I think it would be good for us to know the driver, and the reason I'm not waiting for 3 weeks is because if they're talking about it now, and we're considering it now, they're going to be coming up with a modified formula, should ensure that we have our best interests at heart from the town,
Right.
from the town of Wethersfield, and what the drivers are, right? Whether it's socioeconomic, the demographics of the town, the type of students, choice, whatever it is, that we're able to talk to them about what would be in Wethersfield's best interest. So I'd appreciate that information.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Mayor.
Counselor Carbone?
Thank you, Mr. Emmett. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Although you know how much I love budget season, but we'll get through it. A couple questions. If you could please go back to actually stay here for 1 second. This is a horrible question, and I apologize out of the get-go because nobody likes to hear it. But is there money spent? Is there a correlation with better education, better test scores, kids getting what they need? Is that something that we could, I feel like every year they ask, when we spend more money, do the kids do better? And what is your response to something like that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, in some aspects, yes. In some aspects, no. Each individual district is its own unique kind of environment, if you will. You may have one district that has a much higher prevalence rate of special education. You may have a district that has a much higher rate of students receiving ELL services. So again, it's not always good to compare apples to oranges per se. But again, one of the things you look at too is like the town's ability to pay. You're looking at the socioeconomic environment in these towns, and they are somewhat similar. So I would say, you know, from what I have seen, when you invest more dollars, you have greater outcomes. And I think we've started to see that when we had our math interventionists. And think about it, when we had the ESSER and the ARPA dollars, We did not invest heavily in getting, 10 more administrators at the Stillman Building. We invested in student mental health. We invested in math interventionists across all 7 schools. We invested in social work support for the mental health needs for our students. So we really tried to be strategic in how we implemented those funds. The challenge for us, like was the case in each district across the state, when those ARPA and ESSER dollars ran out, there was some that we were able to maintain, but a lot we lost, unfortunately.
Thank you. If you could please go back to the slide under property, I feel like our information wasn't lining up with your information on the screen for some reason, unless I'm reading that wrong, which very well could be. It was after supplies and then property, I think we're going. Oh. So it said equipment is increasing 15.9%, which is 58,500. Am I reading this wrong? This one says 46,500. Instructional equipment is increasing 46,500.
There's most likely another line there.
Okay.
I'll follow up on that with you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And then I just wanted to go back to, and I'm sorry for taking anybody's time, but this is on my mind. And again, don't want to wait all this time to get some answers, so thank you.
Sure.
The inclusion of the 3 new elementary security positions. I think you were going to touch base on how that's going to work, but then you start talking about something else. So can you please elaborate on how you have 5 schools that need one? Obviously, we all agree they need
Correct.
one, and you're going to only have 3.
Yes. Yeah, that's going to be the challenge. So we're going to have to utilize the expertise of our director of security to be able to develop a schedule that is most conducive to covering the buildings where at all possible.
So they would just travel between the schools?
Yep. And you know what you're going to get, and we've already got it. I met with the Wethersfield Schools Parents Council, and the first thing I heard when I talked about the budget was, well, which school isn't getting them? We intend that all schools will get them, but yeah, there's a gap. And again, that's why I was looking for the 5 right up front. Again, will we take the 3? We will. We had a threat that came in via online back on September 11th. We were one of probably a dozen schools that day that dealt with it. I would like to say that we're not going to see those threats, but unfortunately in this day and age, in this digital age, it will happen again, unfortunately. So again, having that resource available in the schools is critically important as a response.
Okay.
So,
thank you. When will you be finding out about the insurance numbers? You said right now you're setting it at 6%, and what was the time frame to figure out when we're gonna?
yeah, usually, what are we talking, April?
Yeah, usually right around the end of the month, early April, we'll get a number that we can go with.
Okay, so it'll be before we have to vote on this.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
your time.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Further council questions? Councilor Clancy.
Do you have any concerns that we could lose federal funding?
Cindy, bring your
I'm
mic
sorry,
down,
I always
please.
do this with the mic. Now you can hear me, right? Do you have any concerns that we could lose federal funding?
Yes, I have concerns we can lose federal funding. I have concerns that ICE could come in tomorrow. I have concerns that the Department of Education is going to be abolished with no plan. The reality of it is this. I've tried very hard to strike a balanced approach because every day the kids come into school, they don't particularly care about that. They want to make sure that they've got breakfast and lunch. Want to make sure that they have all of the things that they need to succeed. They want to have a safe learning environment. They want to have a healthy and adequate learning environment. For me, what I worry about is I worry about the ongoing needs being eroded by the loss of funds. Right now, at this point in time, my biggest concern with some of the executive orders, first and foremost, was, oh my goodness, what are we going to do with breakfast and lunch program? So with that, my understanding is that the federal breakfast and lunch program is funded through the Department of Agriculture, not the Department of Education. Obviously, I worry about Title I dollars. For us, not all of our schools are Title I schools. The other piece for me, too, near and dear to my heart as a special educator, is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. I have an obligation to provide a free and appropriate public education for any student that comes into my school, into my district. And it is critically important that we have the funds to be able to do that. Again, if the Department of Education is abolished and it is moved down to the state level, my expectation would be is that we still continue to get the funding we need. It is a time of uncertainty. I'm not naive to that fact. But at the end of the day, I really work hard to make sure that we have a budget that is tight. As I said at the March Finance and Operations Committee meeting, right now we're operating about $60,000 under budget. So we do everything we can to make sure that we're spending our money wisely. But yeah, I definitely have the ear to the ground to that. It's a good question.
How much do we get, percentage-wise, from the federal government?
We don't get as much from the federal government. We're not a state that relies upon it as much. There are other states that are far more reliant upon the federal dollars. And, you know, for us, I'd have to get the number. Cindy, I don't know it off the top of my head. But I think that, you know, what we're going to be facing down the road when I look at Title I and I look at IDEA, those are going to be the two factors that I think are going to be a challenge.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if we should be saving money in case something
Well, again,
unexpected should
that's
occur.
what I hope happens is when we see the excess cost money, I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to put a little bit into that 2% reserve at the end of the year. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Clancy. Further council comments or questions? I'll just ask Michael, and I'll preface it by saying one of the reasons I think the elementary school project is so important is safety and to make our schools safer. And along those lines, I'm following discussion of 5 versus 3. Can you get us data, Michael, on our nearby towns? So if Newington has all of theirs with a security guard, if Rocky Hill has Berlin, I think we would want to know that. If they have a sharing arrangement like we're thinking, or like you've proposed here, are you able to get us that data of the nearby towns and
I
how
can.
many elementary school security guards they have?
Yes, I can get that.
Okay. Does anybody else have any? If not, I will say thank you, Michael. We'll see you back here in a little over a month. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Just before we go into public comment, which will start in a minute, I wanted to make a statement tonight, and the statement is regarding the swing schools, and I'm just going to read it, and then we'll go into public comment, everybody. So, over the last several months, we have listened to all the community feedback regarding the selection of the swing schools site. We are grateful for all the respectful engagement that has gone on, and we appreciate the work that the building committee has done on this issue and the whole project. Based on all of this feedback that we have heard, I am asking the building committee to reevaluate the swing school choice and to have another public meeting. I see the merits and challenges of all 3 potential locations: Stillman, Keisha, and Highcrest. Our residents are very protective of their neighborhoods. We saw this when we tried to put a turf field at Keisha a couple years ago and the huge outpouring then. We saw it last year at Mill Woods when we tried to put a turf field there and there was a big outpouring. And we are seeing it now as we try to, as the building committee had recommended a swing school, we're seeing the outpour of folks from Old Wethersfield and their feelings on this. And it's one of the reasons that makes our community so great is people love this town and they're protective of their neighborhoods. I understand that and I respect that. My great hope is in the end, the community can come together and support our elementary school referendum. Our students and our teachers deserve schools that are equipped for the 21st century, not schools that are tired, and they deserve schools that are safer. When we finish this referendum, which is planned tentatively for September, and we're going to focus as a council on the budget, this will not be an agenda item until after the budget. That's the referendum. Again, my great hope is we will have a plan that will bring the whole community together and we will pass the elementary school project. So I'm asking the building committee to reevaluate and have another public meeting. At this point, I'm going to move to public comment, and I'm going to read what I normally read. During the public comment period, members of the public will have 5 minutes to speak on any issue. We have a lighted timer at the podium to help each speaker be aware of the time remaining for them to address the council. When you step up to the podium, please state your name and address, and at this point, the green light will come on, showing that your 5 minutes have begun. The yellow light will come on when you have 1 minute left, and at this time, we'll ask you to wrap up your comments. At the 5-minute mark, the red light will come on, and you must complete your comments. I ask that you address your comments to the entire council and refrain directly about speaking to one individual council member or the audience, and please address the whole council. I ask that you refrain from any derogatory comments or personal attacks, and please remain respectful. This section is for public comment, and the council will generally not engage in dialogue during this portion of the agenda. If any follow-up is needed, please leave your name and contact information with the town clerk, and the town manager will follow up with you. I will now open this up for public comment. Anna. Oh, well, hold on.
We skipped something.
So I apologize. Anna, just give us another minute. We have a public hearing tonight, which I skipped over. My apologies, everyone. C-1, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is in reference to Ordinance 25-001. This is an amendment to Section A180-11 of the Order of Business, which is essentially the order of your agendas. This was discussed at a previous meeting and proposed by Councilor Carbone. This is essentially to add a second council comment after the second public comment to allow the council the opportunity to respond to anything that's been heard at that point.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager, and this has been proposed by Councilor Carbone, and I'm going to open it to the public just on this particular item, and again, my apologies. Does anybody want to speak on just this item? Mr. Woodward. We're discussing the Shelley public hearing and the Carbone amendment.
Oh, great. Yeah, let's not call it that, please.
Bob Woodward, 456 Middletown Avenue here in Wethersfield. I more have a question than a comment. Would it be appropriate in this item to amend it and say that the council should have the same time frame limits as the public? And I'm asking that as a question. It occurred to me this week that, you know, while you do have reports that you give with no limit, should the comments be timed the same way we are timed? You may be councilors, but you're also public citizens. So I'll leave that question, and you probably know better than I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Anybody else on this public hearing item? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you. Sorry I missed that. And Anna, you are our first public comment person. Please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Anna Kazanji, and I live at 11 Mountain Laurel Drive here in Wethersfield. So I'm back from Wethersfield High School, and I have an update. So these last few months have been very important as the year is coming to a close. There have been a lot of important things that have been happening, and I've grouped them into 3 major categories. First of all, working towards the future. So for our seniors, we finalized class ranking. We're getting college admissions stuff back. For our 8th graders, there's 8th grade night, and then for everyone else, there's like course registration and PSAT, SAT stuff. And then a second category I would like to acknowledge is student accomplishments. As we saw with the cheer team, they won state championship. And additionally, dance is competing in the regionals. And we had a lot of art and musical students make it to Northern Regionals and win Connecticut Regional Scholastic Art Awards. And then finally, I would like to recognize a category of volunteerism and working towards a change. We had a group of students go to the Habitat for Humanity site and work on the homes that they are hoping to have for people in need. And additionally, some high schoolers went to the elementary schools for Read Across America Week, and that was just a really fun way for older kids to interact with the young kids and serve as a model. So it's evident that Wethersfield High School has a lot of great things going on, but I wanted a student perspective, so I created a survey to get some positives and negatives regarding our school. The survey is not representative as it is quite hard to get people to actually respond, but in general, I had some thoughtful responses. So some of the major positives: we have very strong academics and a particularly strong music program. Seniors have schedule freedom to come in late, leave early, and take classes they like. The classes that they can take are real world, and there's a variety of classes in which counseling does really well to help us get them. There's a lot of variety for activities, whether it's a club, a sport, a musical, or anything else. There's a good amount of events and activities that are for a good cause, as we saw with the volunteerism category. And we can challenge ourselves as students in different ways through these things. Additionally, people commented that our Blue Eagle News is well produced and keeps us informed. And across the board, people really like lunch, the optionality, and that it's free. Some things we can look forward to in terms of for the future. We were looking to improve the function of our WeConnect advisory. Now it is very useful for our juniors for their PSAT and SAT prep, but for early senior year or late junior year, we could modify it so it helps us with our college application process and everything that comes with that. It feels like some students have to figure everything out with a deadline chasing them, and it just could make it streamlined better with supplemental essays, letters of recommendation, FAFSA, CSS, and other financial aid things. Additionally, some students were looking for better guidance with military routes after high school, as it is a different process, and it feels like some of the only guidance we get are the representatives during our lunch waves. And finally, some underclassmen were looking for more explanation as to how course selection ultimately affects college. In the classroom, we are also looking for some changes. For example, there are some courses that are the same course taught by different teachers, but there is disparity. We would like to close that. Additionally, there are some double standards where students have limited time to complete assignments, but teachers grade them very last minute, and it makes it hard for us to get them back. There's some discouragement in very high-level classes where we are expected to be okay with a grade or that we are doing well when we would like to achieve an A, even though the average might be a C. And additionally, some tests in classes are notified super late, and they are not used to the best of their ability to assess what we've been doing in the classroom. Additionally, students have asked for more AP class options. And in terms of the language department, they have asked for a reevaluation of some of the assignments, as it doesn't feel like it's building constructive skills, and there could be other ways to learn the language in an organized way, as learning a language is one of the most important things that you could have. In the miscellaneous category, some STEM-based students were looking for competitions and events in which we can connect with other schools or possibly bigger organizations. Some activities that students were looking for during school, like pep rallies, so they can connect and have more school spirit. Some students who park and who drive were frustrated about the pool entrance not being open, as parents using the main entrance creates a really long line out of the building. And finally, some students have noted that bullying isn't taken as seriously as it could be, and the administration could reprimand students for other negative behavior and bullying. Overall, we can take little steps to build towards a positive environment in all these categories, but there are a lot of great things going on. So we'll see how the year closes, and we can work towards that for next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate your leadership. Thank you. Further public comment? Oh, you guys go. You can. Mom and Dad clapping. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Further public comment? Nobody? Yes. And your St. Patrick's green.
Good evening. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm Patricia Carroll. I live at 34 Chesterfield Road. I'd like to thank the council. Clearly, you're dedicated to our town and our children. I can't imagine how many hours you have to spend not just researching and reading, but listening to all of us. So thank you. But I think it is important to share opinions. They help enrich and clarify the conversation. The Wethersfield Elementary School project states, in part, that the mission is to provide a vision for safety and equitable educational opportunities for all Wethersfield students. And after I read that, I went through all the images again on the town site, and I also went to the building committee meeting last week, and I was struck by the images that show the hammer option, because in the images, what stands out is what it will look like 7 or 9 or 10 years from now. It doesn't show how much space is going to be taken up by the old Hammer if a new school is built. And I picture 500 students, 250 and 250, living next to one another for up to a decade with no green space, because it seems that the image that's shown shows a ball field, but that won't be there because the old school is still there. As students work through it, as their schools are being renovated. And I think on the website, that should be clarified. It does show in the Hammer option, it's gray and it's faded and it's in the background, but it should be labeled. Because someone who isn't taking time to look through it might think that's what it will look like in 2 years, and it won't. The kids won't have space, and that does concern me. The building committee materials also state that any current school can be renovated. Last week at the design committee meeting, the design consultant said that Hammer School was poured in like paint. Poured in like paint. And to me, it almost sounds lyrical. It suggests how masterfully, beautifully, and harmoniously Hammer does fit in to its historic neighborhood. Hammer School is indicative of a historic period when baby boomers and their children moved to the suburbs. This school and its design is part of our history. So thank you for having that conversation with your colleagues to discuss and consider revising the options and intentions brought forward to the community. I think the town purchase Keisha Farm option has been deemed viable by the design team. They mentioned it again last week, and it is worth revisiting. Keisha is a sound alternative to tearing down Hammer and forever taking away space from a historic green. I do not feel we need a big box on a lot in Old Wethersfield. Please renovate Hammer, restore it, repair it. Please consider what is safe and equitable for our children, and in so doing, you will be preserving our history. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tricia. Further public comment? Thank you. Mr. Young.
Good evening, Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. With the proposed 4.9% increase that the Board of Education is looking for, we all know that that's horrendously high. I mean, here we are living in a country that needs to come down with our inflation to 2% by the federal, and it's by the Federal Reserve. We should, that's what our goal should be, is 2%. 4.95% is double what it should be. How else is are you going to use the backs of everybody else to support a 4.9% increase for the school system? Somebody's got, there's got to be an offset. There's a balance going on here. How do you get to 2% for the country when you're coming in at 4.95%? There's no way you're going to meet it. You're going to be, again, way beyond your means. And that's exactly where you're shooting. The superintendent is shooting beyond our means as a country. Not just Wethersfield, but also Wethersfield. And that's where he should have come in 2%, 2.5%, and work our way closer to the 2. And if everybody did that, we would at least bring our inflation down that affects everybody else. I understand the school buys only $108,000 worth of supplies, but we spend a heck of a lot of money too that's highly inflated. And we want to see inflation come down so we can live a little easier. We cannot live easier at 4.95%. We can't even do that at 3 or 2.5%. You got to come down to 2. Across the board, there has to be 2. Across the state, across the nation. And when you live beyond your means, and that's what you're doing, You're living beyond your means at 4.95%. And as you crawl back a little bit, you're still beyond your means. And that means the rest of us have to carry it. We have to bring our costs down in order to get 2% across the board. But while all that is going on, if you approve a high number, high inflation rate, that's going to keep mortgage money high. That's going to keep everything high across all kinds of businesses. That's why we are a business. I know the superintendent thinks we're a municipality and we're allowed certain something so we can come in at 4.95%, but that's wrong. He's got to come in at 2% and hold it, and that same goes with all the other towns in the state and across the nation. They got to come down. Otherwise, we're never going to hit it, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be they're going to be getting whacked with higher rates, and it just doesn't turn out right. So anyway, and I do understand you have special needs students that cost more money. You have choice students that are costing us more money. If you were a business, and you are a business, you should be out there squeezing all of these costs that the superintendent has, as well as all the costs that the town manager has that he represents. Squeeze them down to down to the 2% level. And that's what, if all the municipalities were like businesses and squeezed it down, I think we'd be much better off as citizens. Higher rates make it more difficult on us to live. And that's really what's going on here. And it's year after year. The superintendent comes in with a high rate, and he gets a high rate. He proves year after year that Wethersfield is living beyond its means. And there's no reason for us to do that. We all have to survive, and we're not going to survive very well at 4.95% or even 3%. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Thank you. Any further public comment this evening? Mr. Woodward. Bob?
Bob Woodward, 456 Middletown Avenue here in Wethersfield. I would somewhat echo Mr. Young. 4.95 is frightening. My increase both for Social Security and pension was about 2.5%. Where's that other 2.45 going to come from? Are you going to have free loans at a bank for those of us who only made 2.45? There's a lot of senior citizens in town, and there are a lot of people called Alice. Income is restricted, income is limited, even though they're working. 4.95 may be a reach for a lot of people in this town. Remember, the foundational document of this country, the Declaration of Independence, says taxes need to be fair and equitable. This 4.95 does not feel equitable, and if you're going to have a school referendum in the fall and want more, where is that going to come from for those of us who are on limited income? That needs to be thought of. Because the other message coming from this is, you really want the senior citizens to leave. You really want us out. You want people who are making generous incomes in here who can afford 4.95%. And that's not a very nice message to come from a budget. Budgets do speak in many ways. So please, 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 I will probably say this again and again and again between now and the budget hearing. But there are people in this town, and I had one on the phone with me today who knew I was coming up here tonight and is out of state, and said, please say something about this. The other thing I'd like to say is thank you to the mayor for opening up where the swing school is going. I had a conversation with one neighbor today who said, what's wrong with putting it behind Webb? And I know that there are some plans for Webb to save the auditorium and be a 5th and 6th grade academy. But people go by and they see it and they're asking questions. Why can't it go there? I drove by Emerson Williams the other day and my wife was driving, so I had a chance to take a look. And it looks like there's property out in back of Emerson Williams, at least from what I can see. Is that a possibility? Are there possibilities that we haven't considered yet? And I think that needs to be looked at, because I will continue to stand up and say, no, leave Stillman Park alone. You've heard me say that, and I'll continue to say it until it's over. So thank you all for listening. I hope you will consider these factors as we move in the next couple of months, or less than 2 months, to a budget for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Further public comment? Seeing none, we will move on with our agenda. Item E, council reports. Does any councilor have a report this evening? Councilor Carbone.
Hi, good evening. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Youth Ed Advisory Board. They have the We Hope Coalition, and We Hope stands for Wethersfield Helping Others Through Prevention and Education. I get it messed up a little, Erica, because the T is silent, so it makes me a little. But they have an adult survey out that's been out for a little while, asking the community to just take 5 minutes of your time. I did it earlier. It was a nothing burger. I went right through it. You can scan the QR code. I actually taped it to the table over there. So if you could scan it on your way out, or you could actually go to the town's Facebook page. It's under the manager's comments, notes? Thank you, manager's report, sorry. And it's also, there's a link on the town website. But all your feedback, it's fed in, it's anonymous, nobody knows who you are. But that's really helpful in getting future programming for the town. We Hope really works with youth prevention. It supports our kids to help them make better choices. You know, they're inundated with so much out there now, and it just gives them and parents support and resources. Some of the great program they have been coming out, some suicide prevention, and then also the Narcan education point. I don't know if anybody's ever talked to you about that, but with the fentanyl and the opioid crisis, I think we should all be versed in administering Narcan, and they have a training coming up April 30th, so if you want more information on that, also go to the websites. But the survey, again, just helps with, so I have way too many papers in front of me, getting grant initiatives too. So, you know, we're all into budget season, talking about money. It would be nice if we offered just 5 minutes, gave some input, and we were able to get more grants to help with the kids. So that is that for that, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Further council reports. Any reports?
Oh, I forgot to mention one thing. I'm sorry.
You go, you have the floor. Councilor.
Spring is coming. I'm so excited. The warm weather. Oh my gosh. I saw buds on trees. It's been a little gloomy lately, but it's coming. Also, going with the YABA stuff, there's a $50 fine if you're caught smoking or vaping on recreational properties. So just keep that in mind and tell your people in your life who would be much healthier if they quit smoking that. So maybe it'll incentivize them. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you for the public health announcement.
Yeah,
That's good.
I'm all about it.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Further council reports. Seeing, well, actually, I have one, and then I'll move on to council comments. So last week, I attended the Veterans Commission meeting as well as the Memorial Day Parade Committee meeting. They're back-to-back. First on the Veterans Commission, I'll just report, and this is a nice follow-up to what Councilor Carbone was saying. There's a couple students that are running an event on March 30th. Face the Fight is the name of the event. It is at the high school, and it's dedicated to military personnel and suicide prevention, and it's student run. And I know the Veterans Commission will be there. I will be there, and anybody can go to support that cause. To talk about the Memorial Day Parade Committee, this is a little bit of an announcement. There was a decision made at the Parade Committee meeting last week to alter the parade route and alter the parade ceremony, and it's the first time I think in a long time that that's been changed. So I don't have the exact route. We can get that, but it is going to be more in Old Wethersfield. I know a lot of the parade is anyway, but also the reviewing stand is going to be moved to right near where it is on Holidays on Main, in front of, and the fire marshal's there. He liked this better than the current route, and so was one of the lieutenants from the police department. And the ceremony will take place out on Main Street as well, as opposed to the ceremony being in the cemetery. Ceremony in the cemetery. So that was a significant change, and it had broad support throughout the whole committee, and it's a big change in the way we've been doing it. The date is May 24th. I hope all the counselors will be marching, and we will then end up on Main Street instead of in the cemetery. That's all I have for council reports. Council comments. Any counselor want to make a comment this evening? Councilor Rhodes?
I'm passing along a comment from a student. First of all, there have been so many good things about students tonight. I know that life can be really crazy and hard and stressful, and there's a lot of very scary things happening in the world. And when I look at what's happening with the kids in Wethersfield, the high school students in particular, as we're hearing about, I have a lot of hope for our future. I think that the kids are actually doing okay. So I got to open up my phone here. Lorelei Fazina Kendrick is a student at Wethersfield High School, and she had asked if we could pass this information along to the community. She and a friend of hers, Maddie Wethge, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, they're organizing a fundraiser for the Michael J. Fox Foundation on March 29th from 5:30 to 8:40 at the Rocky Hill Tennis Club. Both of their fathers have been friends for quite a while, and within the last few years were both separately diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease. And so these daughters have come together to raise funds for the Michael J. Fox organization. It is, you can find out information about it at, their Instagram is at Paddle Up for Parkinson's. Their goal is to raise $5,000. They had, as of a couple weeks ago, had already raised about $2,000. They were also looking for donations from the community and are hoping that they can get a lot of support from the community for their cause. Again, the Instagram is at Paddle Up for Parkinson's, and I suspect you could also contact the high school and say you're looking for information about the Parkinson's fundraiser if you have trouble keeping track of that Instagram. Okay. Yeah, it's pickleball. It's a pickleball competition, so that'll be fun.
Thank you, Councilor
All
Rhodes.
right, that's it.
Further council comments? Councilor Carbone.
Thank you. I agree, a lot of really good stuff. It's nice to hear some good stuff. I'm hoping, the Board of Ed left, but I'm hoping they heard that young girl. Does she give a report to us quarterly? Is that what that is? Or like
The young lady?
Yes.
She is one of the leadership students I've been working with, and she likes to
Great.
come and give a report, and I'm happy to have it.
Does she give it to the Board of Education?
I hope so. I don't know.
Okay, she should, because I think they should hear her input. I think it's really valuable. So I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor for your opening statement about asking the committee to reevaluate. I think it's prudent. I will say I did make a statement at the last building committee meeting, and I got cut off at 5 minutes, so I know what that feels like, and it wasn't awesome. I was like, wow, we're so spoiled up here. We can just chat. So I understand what everyone in this, one of our community members goes through when we see the panicking red lights. So, but I joke a lot, but I wanted to
Justine,
thank
we
you.
should have a red light up here?
No, but I
just
think
kidding.
that he makes a very good point. We'll talk about that during the other thing. So I actually was going to come here, I was going to mention during this time the rest of my comments, but I don't need to because you've done that for me. So thank you. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone.
I
Further
hope you
council
listen.
comments? I'll just make one and make you aware that last week, Wethersfield hosted the governor and the attorney general at Wethersfield High School. And this was really a significant event, and I was happy to moderate it, but it was our students who, maybe about 15 students, I know several counselors were there, which was great, talking about cell phone usage in the schools. And these students, Counselor Roach talked about hope for the future. If you were to listen to these students, you would have tremendous hope for the future. They were so intelligent. But this is a really important conversation. You may remember that last year we had a town-wide book club, book discussion, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. And that book, the theme of that book is that the mental health crisis among today's youth is primarily caused by social media and the cell phones. So this was a discussion with the governor, the attorney general, and some state representatives as well, and our students. And it was really, really powerful to hear from the students. And it's really important that Wethersfield is on the leading edge of this, and we are. And that's why the governor and attorney general were here. We had the book club, and we're looking at community strategies to work on the issues of cell phone use in our schools. It's a big problem, and social media use. So that was last Thursday. I don't have any other reports, comments, and I'll turn it over to the town manager. Town manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, in reference to the swing school discussion, we did have a meeting with the bond council, and after that discussion with the bond council and the consultants as well. And because of the current proposal at the Hamner location, the Stillman location, the bond council did recommend that we convene a special meeting of the HDC to allow them to hear the presentation and provide any feedback, even though it's all very conceptual right now. There's no actual plan. They do know basic location and a general size of the building. So we're working to schedule that. It's probably going to be in the next week or so. We're just trying to get a quorum together of the HDC members, as well as the availability of the consultants. So that will be coming very soon. So keep an eye out on our website. We'll be putting that on Facebook, on our social media pages, as well as our website as soon as it is known. But that's going to happen in the next week or so. Also, on the agenda tonight, you'll see under new business, there's an item for an emergency repair on the high school tennis courts. This was issue was noted at the end of last season. There were small cracks that ran across several of the courts. It wasn't to the point of being a major concern at that point, but after this winter, our crews went back out, and the crack has expanded substantially, and it is considered now a safety concern. And I think that I know that the school athletic director was saying that he feels it's critical that get repaired before the season starts in the spring. So we did go out to, we did get one bid because this is very specialized work. Most companies will not repair something that they did not install, and the install company did not offer a proposal. So we're asking for an emergency repair authorization, which will be under new business. I can discuss that more later, but I just wanted to give you a heads up why we're doing that. That's coming up. It was unforeseen that it was going to need work immediately, but it clearly does, and we want to get that done in time for the tennis season. So that's why it's there. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Town Clerk's report. Sue?
I just want to let you all know that the March 2025 EDIC memo and report are included in the agenda packet for your review.
Thank you, Sue. We have no bids. The next item is J, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I move approval of the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to item K1. Mr. Town Manager.
Okay, Mayor, this is for O25-001, and this is an amendment to Section A 180-11, and that's your order of business, which is essentially your rules and procedures as it pertains to your agenda. And this adds that second council comment period after the second public comment period.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Council comments or questions? Council?
Need a motion on the floor.
Oh, sorry. Will you raise your hand?
But you want to do it?
We need a motion first.
Need a
and then we'll
motion to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Councilor Carbone, you want to make the motion?
Sure.
Councilor Carbone. K1.
Yeah, I'm on that. Thank you. I make a motion to approve O25-001, amendment to Section A180-11, Order of Business, Town Council Rules of Procedures as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion.
Thank you.
Councilor Carbone.
What does the rest of the council, do you think of a time limit at the end? Should we, I know we've discussed going in this to good faith where we're not going to grandstand and soapbox and all that stuff for hours at the end of a meeting. Do you think it's necessary to put in a time limit? I mean, doesn't hurt? I don't know. I'd like someone to discuss that.
Yeah, so the motion is to
Thoughts?
add public comment to the end council comment to the end of the agenda after public comment. And now the question is being asked, do we want the councilors to have a time limit? Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody want to, Councilor Dirk?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't see it necessary at the moment. Most of us do not use the council comment time anyway. The second portion will also be just to comment if there's something that we need to comment again. And for practical reason, I don't think we should be timed, because you might have 50 people talk and give comments, and you got to address 50 different comments, and having 5 minutes may not work. So unless it starts being abused for some reason, I don't see it necessary at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dirk. Councilor Rhodes?
I'd agree with Councilor Jurek that I think that I would like to go forward with a good faith gesture, that the point of that second council comments is just to specifically address or respond to something that comes up in that second public comment. And I think all of us want to get out at the end of the night.
Yes,
so
we do.
I feel like it's an extra layer that we don't need.
Okay, I actually think those are very valid points, and I agree with that.
Any other council comment? We can always amend it later. We can
Sure.
always remove it, too, if we don't feel it's working. Any other council
I was
comments?
just going to agree with the Carbone amendment. It's very unlikely that I would ever say anything longer than 3 minutes anyway. I just don't think it's necessary. And it hadn't occurred to me till Mickey said it, that it's true, we may have to address a variety of comments.
Thank you, Councilor Clancy. Further council comments? If not, we will take a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no unfinished business. New business M1. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is in reference to a recently changed option for localities. This was allowed by House Bill 7067, which was authorized. The situation was last session, the legislature changed the process in which vehicles are assessed. And I have the assessor here tonight to dive into some details with you, but in general, we are recommending that we move forward with this because as it was originally adopted by the legislature, it would have resulted in a reduction of tax revenue of, as based upon this year, of about $950,000. And we're looking with the change, with the local option, it basically restores that amount. So basically, everybody's bill will be about what it was last year based upon this at this year's current budget. So it's really putting it back to the way it should be, which is why the legislature did it, because every community screamed as soon as they did the analysis and saw what this was going to do to revenue. But I'll let Walter Topliff kind of talk about some other reasons why we're considering
Thank
this.
you.
Walter.
And thank you, Walter. And please, if you can, also address the potential public impact to the taxpayers, because we did get some letters today about that, and we've got some inquiries. So, but the floor is yours, Walter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow council members. It's true that the legislature had changed our methodology on valuing motor vehicles. And what the change now, after feedback from many municipalities, is to change the depreciation schedule by 5%. But the 5% results in $950,000 roughly in taxes that we wouldn't have lost necessarily. What it would have done is redistribute the taxes to other members of the community, which probably shouldn't be a good idea. Those are probably the people that most need the help or are unable to afford the taxes with the revaluation shift coming. This would exacerbate that problem. So we're asking that the council adopt this local option, and it will not solve the problem, it'll help the problem.
And just, I mentioned, are you able to comment a little bit of what the impact generally would be to taxpayers? Because we're getting some questions on that. I'm sure everybody will want to know kind of how this may impact their taxes and motor vehicle.
Well, like the town manager said earlier, the tax impact is everybody's taxes will be relatively the same as last year. But if we don't enact this, the consequences are going to be shifting the burden of the taxes to the people who can't afford the taxes.
Got it. So, council, questions or comments? Nobody?
Nobody read a motion?
No motion yet.
No
There's no motion.
So we should start with
This was just introduction.
No,
this is the
We're voting on it.
No, I mean, you did
Yes,
an introduction
yes,
of the
yes,
topic.
yes.
We have not put a motion on it.
I didn't hear a motion, but you
No.
can verify with the.
Okay, so no, there's been no motion. Do we have,
One,
yes,
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Deputy Mayor,
All
please.
right. I hereby move that the town of Wethersfield elect to apply the modified schedule of depreciation with respect to motor vehicles based on the manufacturer's suggested retail price of such motor vehicles as authorized by and in accordance with the recently adopted House Bill 7067 of the General Assembly, and that said election be effective with the assessment year commencing on October 1, 2024.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second by Councilor Durk. Now we'll open it up for discussion. Councilor comments or discussion? Councilor Durk.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Walter. Just in simple terms, essentially, if we don't change it, people will see a slight decrease in their car taxes, and all of that decrease will be shifted on property taxes, meaning that we are not losing the money, we are just shifting it to the homeowners and business owners to make up the difference, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
I would just add that, as you all know, based upon the reval and the report that was given to you before, certain parts of the community went up a lot more than others. In the reval, those groups would get the lion's share of this burden if we were to go along without making this change. And that's the group, again, that probably can least afford it, and we don't want to exacerbate the impact of the reval.
Thank you. If I may just add one point here is, I also see a fair going to how we used to do it before, because those who do not own the property will see a benefit of car bills going down, but then the property owners will pay more in taxes to make up for that difference. So I think this will be a fair system to go back to what we used to do before.
Thank you, Councilor Durk. Further council comments or questions? Councilor Timbrow?
I just wanted to say that I'm definitely in support of this. I think that it's great. What I like most about it is it's not a mandate from the state. It's an option, which gives us the opportunity to have the conversation like this to decide if it is the best for our community or not. So I think it's a good idea, and it passed almost unanimously in both chambers. So I think it's a good idea too.
Thank you, Councilor Timbrow. Further council comment? Councilor Carbone.
When I first saw this, I think, and a lot of people first saw this, your first thing is like, oh my gosh, our taxes are all going to go up. So I think it's great that you explained it the way you did, and thank you, Mickey, for saying what you said, or Councilor Dirk. Because people do, I don't know if people realize how the taxes were generated before, that they were using the Blue Book value on your car, which during COVID went through the roof. And that was their way of kind of capping that, right, to kind of go to this. And then they realized their error. So people, I want them to realize too that they had not been affected by this change last year, right? Because this has not been enacted at all.
Correct.
That's correct.
For those people who are thinking now we're going to be overburdening them, it's very, very great points to be made, and I'm also in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Further council comment, questions? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Item M2, actually, I don't know if we start with a motion, doesn't matter. Mr. Town Manager.
Yeah, you can start.
Let's start with a motion. Do I have a motion? Mr. Deputy Mayor, M2.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to waive the sealed bid requirements for repair of the high school tennis courts and award the contract for repairs to Hinding Tennis Courts and to authorize staff to execute the contract and any related documents.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Rhodes. Mr. Town Manager.
And again, Mayor, I did give a brief introduction to this during my comments, but as you'll note, this is being proposed as a sole source because we did only get the one bid, and it does meet all the actually two separate requirements of the sole source justification under the State Procurement Act. So we're fine with that. And again, this will allow us to get this repair done before the tennis season, so we recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Questions or comments from councilors? Councilor Bailey.
When did it go out to bid?
We went, because of the nature of the emergency, we called the companies that we knew that did the work that we've used in the past. So this was just this past last week we did it because our guys, Alan went out and he's the one that noticed that the crack had expanded quite a bit over the winter. And then Mike, sorry, the
Athletic Director
Maltese, thank you. Mike went out and looked at it and said, yeah, he was really concerned about the safety of the students, but we have to have those courts in order for them to do their tennis season. So,
is it through both big sets, one set?
It goes right across all of them. It hits like every court the way that it ran across. Yeah.
And you only got the one bid?
Correct. And this isn't surprising. We had this was the only company that would bid on the basketball tennis court repairs we had over at Millwoods as well.
Councilor Bailey.
It's got to be more than one crack for 38 grand, though. I haven't looked at it, but.
Yep. This is, again, most will not repair work that they did not do the actual construction on.
Thank you, Councilor Bailey. Further council comment or questions? Councilor.
Oh, please. No, I say too much. Go.
You guys going to draw a straw? You don't-
Yeah, no, she could go.
Who wants to? Councilor Timbrow.
So just given that this is not a incredibly old tennis court, is there any type of a warranty or something of that nature because this was unexpected and caused by weather? Is that my understanding?
Well, they were constructed at the time of the high school renovation, so any warranty would have gone past by now. What we looked at is there's a drainage pipe that runs underneath that we think might have led to it. We did camera that and looked to make sure there wasn't any issues that were going to further exacerbate. They didn't find anything that caused concern, but it's still, we don't think it's was necessarily an issue of the construction, just something that was happening subsurface that may have helped lead to the issue.
Thank you, Councilor Timbrow. Councilor Carbone?
I'm whispering. Was it built new at the high school time? It's 2017 they finished the high school, probably went in last.
I wasn't here at that time, so I can't really say if it was completely built new, but I know that they were all redone.
Okay. I was just concerned because that's not a lot of time,
No, it's
7
not.
years on it.
No.
And so we have no
and again,
recourse.
the majority of the courts are in excellent shape. It's just this one area where the cracks form.
Okay. All right, and there's no chance that somebody's going to come in with another bid soon? It's
We've got
only
to
been
get
a
the
few
work done,
days.
so we let it know when we put the call out that, we need bids right away. And we also, one of the conditions was they had to be able to make the repair in the time that we had because this is an emergency repair.
Okay. I guess we really don't have
Councilor
a
Timbrow.
choice.
Sorry, I just thought of a clarifying question. So did you say that you think that it was caused because of some drain underneath, or no?
We're not exactly sure. That we know there's a line underneath. We did camera the line, and we didn't find any leaks that would suggest that that was the case. But just the way that the crack runs all the way down would suggest that there is probably something subsurface, whether it was when the line went in, if they didn't compact it all the gravel around it properly or what. But we need to address it for the season. We may have to, do some further work after the season to take a look and see what we're doing, but this will get us through the season at least, and then we can do some further looking into it. Hopefully it doesn't come up again, but it was a pretty dry year last year, and along this area where the crack formed, there was actually moisture that was coming up too, so it suggests that there was something else going on, but it wasn't an MDC line, and it wasn't the drainage that we could find thus far.
Yeah, I think my brain is just going towards if there's anything that can be done preventatively, just given that it is a significant amount of money for a crack, and if we see that that it was a drain or something like that.
Yeah,
we can keep that in mind.
we're going to continue to investigate, and as we move forward, but due to the timing of the season, our goal is to get it online for the season, and then if need be, if our investigation uncovers anything else, we may have to do some additional work around the courts there. But I don't know what that is until we complete everything.
Further council comment or questions? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Ayes have it unanimously. There is no ordinance. We're now at the, we have the second public comment section, and if you'd like to speak, please state your name and address again. Anybody like to speak at this time? Nobody? Mr. Young.
Good evening, Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. This issue you just spoke about, the tennis court emergency repair, who was the actual guy that did the job? The same person that's now going to repair it? I know you don't answer me, but I didn't fully gather from all of this that whoever built or did the original work in 2017, they're the ones that should come and pay the $48,000. Or if they're the ones that did it and they're now coming in here and they want $48,000, they should do it for nothing. This is business, not municipality. Can you get back to me on that, Mr. Manager? Thank you. Back on February 18th, 2025, the town manager had given us a discussion, a narrative, over 700 words regarding the Little Red Schoolhouse. Thank you, Mr. Manager, for finally getting around to letting us know what's happening. But the thing is, the Wethersfield Art League had been in our buildings for 60 years, approximately. Starting back in 1960. I don't know what the exact date was, so I'm saying approximately. They were in the Little Red Schoolhouse for approximately 50 years. And not once that I'm aware of that they were paying rent, had a lease, or any other darn thing that should have been a legal document for them to use that property. And to be in there free, and us paying all the utilities on a building that was excess, we didn't have any use for it, obviously. I think this was terrible. It was absolutely terrible, and how for 50 years they stayed in the Little Red Schoolhouse, and nobody on the town council or anybody from the Parks and Rec or from Physical Services raised their hand and rang the alarm. What's going on here? Nobody. I've come to many meetings, Mayor. I've never heard anybody talk about it. Granted, I'm sure somebody did, and nobody at the dais ever spoke about it. I can't find anything about it. And for 50 years, they stayed in the Little Red Schoolhouse for free, abusing the taxpayers and the council members every year for 50 years had budgets. And they sat down with the heads of the department, with the town managers at that time. There was even a letter in 1996 between Lee Erdman and Kathy Bagley. Bagley was writing the letter to Erdman about it. And at the end of her letter, she didn't say what we should do, what we're going to do. It just dropped like a rock. This was someone who was a paid official or a paid employee who didn't do her job. And many people obviously have not done their job. And why? Why was there silence? Everyone that sat on the councils over those years, some people on this council have been here for 20, 30 years. I don't know, 20 years anyway. How come this has never come up, and how come it was allowed to go on and on and on? And it wasn't only, the alarm didn't go off until the Wethersfield Art League wanted a little barn or a little shed in the back of their back of the Little Red Schoolhouse, and they wanted the town to pay for it. And that was the only reason the alarm went off. And for the public, for the town council members, you've gone through that every year. Well, I know some of you folks weren't on the council at that time.
Thank you, Mr.
But those council members have failed miserably.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any further public comment this evening? Seeing none, councilors, you'll be happy to know there's no executive session. We're getting out very reasonable time. Does anybody want to make the motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Do you have allergies? Allergies?